Minutes of Heaven, we call the D1Baseball College World Series daily preview. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney, joined by the effervescent Aaron J. Fitt
Mm.
and the spectacular Kendall J. Rogers.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning.
Thank you.
Effervescent. I'll take it, coach.
Yeah, I feel
Yes.
like that sounds better than spectacular.
And I mean, spectacular is a pretty high bar to
And
clear,
that is a
by the
pretty high
way.
bar. I honestly have never been called spectacular, so thank you.
I'm here for you. I'm here. We're here to lift people up. As our friend Clinton Yates would say, we want morale to be high. That's what
Hmm.
we're,
Thank
we're
you.
shooting
Thank
for.
you, Rins.
Yes, I'm here for you, boys. Before we get down to business, let's talk about our postseason presenting sponsor, Wilson. Anyone that's at the College World Series this week, you absolutely have to come check out the Omaha experience in the Baseball Village. You've got four of your favorite baseball brands under one roof: Wilson, DeMarini, Louisville Slugger, Evo Shield. You're going to be a kid in a candy store. If you're not in Omaha, make sure you follow along with D1 Baseball this weekend. We'll be back in the store checking out some of their new releases. So again, very grateful for our friends at Wilson. Boys, let's do this. And you guys are all swagged up a la Wilson, which is great. Those
Yeah.
hats are outstanding. Boys, let's recap yesterday. Then we'll do our predictions for today. KR, why don't you do? That's right, Darren Noble. I see you in the chat. The Baseball Village is in fact awesome. KR, let's do. Give us a quick recap on A&M and Oklahoma.
Well, I mean, we kind of going into that game, we talked about how A&M's defense had been kind of iffy all year long. Their defense, particularly on the mound, their PFP
Hmm.
had not been very good this year, especially down the stretch. And against a team like Oklahoma that finally caught up with them. What's kind of crazy is they actually made a run there and got within 12-8. OU got another run. Trevor Michael came in and kind of slammed the door shut. But I just give Oklahoma a lot of credit. The biggest thing that we talked about they need to do against A&M is just jump on A&M early, make A&M play from way behind, and OU did that. Jackson Nicholas had the big grand slam. I thought Jake Bennett did a pretty nice job of kind of keeping that high octane offense off balance, and Oklahoma got the win. So OU just continues to play at a really high level. I thought their offensive approaches yesterday, Runes, were fantastic. They did not swing at bad pitches against A&M. And it paid off with the 13-run performance.
Yeah. Go
And
ahead, Fitzy.
it felt like one of those long A&M slog kind of games. It was a 4-hour game, and A&M was handing out free bases left and right.
Yeah.
10 walks, 3 hit by pitches, couple of errors. But Oklahoma actually played a really good game. Like they were really sharp. They only walked 2 guys. They didn't make any errors. I think they hit 1 guy. I mean, not a lot of free bases. It really just had a couple of things here or there. They had the 3-run homer that Bennett allowed early in the game, and then he had a little solo shot. But at that point, you're already up 8-0, and so he's just kind of attacking the zone. You can allow a couple of things. I felt like Bennett gave them what he needed to give them, which
Mm-hmm.
was 6 good innings. He got them deep into the game. They tried to steal an inning or 2 with David Sandlin, just kind of get him some experience on the stage because he's going to be needed later in the series. He probably as a starter at some point. That didn't work really well. A&M kind of jumped on him, but again, it's not like OU gave him anything. A&M is a really good offensive team. They made their run, and then it's like, okay, let's cut this off. Here's Trevor Michael, and that's it. It's ball game.
Yeah.
It's just so it kind of felt like Oklahoma was in control the whole way, even though the Aggies made their run. And in the back of our minds, we always knew that Trevor Michael was looming if needed. And there he was.
Yep. It's so interesting. Oklahoma's a scary team right now because they really don't have a weakness that stands out. They've got stars like Peyton Graham and Jake Bennett. They've got a real closer. You mentioned KR and Trevin Michael. They've got, a swing guy in Chaz Martinez who's really interesting. The position player group is there's old guys who can do some things. There's exciting young guys. They haven't really had a losing weekend in what feels like a year. I mean, it's been a
Yeah.
long time.
April 8th, I believe.
Yeah, so crazy. And then A&M, it was like I think we had the complete A&M experience yesterday. We
Yeah.
saw the offense, but we also saw Nathan Detmer struggles in the second half of the season and
Mm-hmm.
tons of free bases and yeah, very interesting. And I see you, Sterling Wilson, in the chat. I did not miss the backdrop memo. I am just a rebel without a cause. I just sometimes I like to go
I,
off the rails.
I
He
like
got to be a
to
rogue.
I like too that you opted for extra headspace. Is that what they call it in the TV world? We got just a little Rune's head at the bottom of the
Oh yeah,
screen. There,
there you
look
go.
at this.
Yeah,
This
that's right.
guy, television's Mike Rooney. Everybody.
Oh my gosh,
I do kind of look like I'm held hostage,
yeah,
as
that's
Rob
great.
Paul pointed out.
That's so good. We had the ACC network show after the game last night, which was really fun. Kelsey Riggs is a superstar. Danny Graves is the best, and the great J-Ro, Jennifer Rooney, was giving me some critiques on my television
Ooh,
game. So it was good.
okay.
Good feedback. We take the feedback.
Mm.
Boys, let's recap ND Texas. Fitzy, kick us off on that one.
Another one where I thought Notre Dame just was, the phrase that I used yesterday that I think fits. They just played a razor sharp baseball game.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
They were so good in all phases. I thought they played with focus and energy, just churning out those quality at bats like they always do. But they manufactured offense like Oklahoma in different ways, with a couple of home runs going to the backside, which it's funny to see backside home runs just become a routine thing here in Omaha, but it's the world we live in now. But that one that Carter Puts hit now, that was a no doubter out to the gap. But forcing the action with some small ball, they scored a run with a squeeze. They were aggressive on the base pass, runners in motion, 3-2 count, that kind of thing, and putting the ball in play when it mattered. And just a very Notre Dame-ish game. They smother you with their defense. They just play outstanding defense. In that respect, I kind of had the thought they reminded me of those Oregon State teams in 17 and 18, where I remember another coach saying they just smother you with their defense, and that kind of feels like Notre Dame also. They just don't make mistakes. And of course, John Michael Bertrand is rock solid. I mean, and that formula with Bertrand, Rayo, and Jackson Finley, it's just kind of like, Bennett to Michael. Like, those are just winning formulas right now. All those guys just feel like they're so dependable.
KR?
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was just the professional at bats that Notre Dame put together. I mean, obviously this is a really old team, but I mean, I did not think they swung at very many bad pitches last night. And when you can do that against a precision guy like Pete Hansen, who is a little bit off his game, you're going to have a lot of success. So I think that's my biggest takeaway in Notre Dame is just their offensive approach was outstanding. As Lenny Jarrett kind of pointed to, they can hit a home run, they can steal some bases, they can do a squeeze bunt there that paid off for them with a run. On a call that was overturned, that they can kind of do a little bit of everything. And the other thing about Notre Dame too is, as Aaron alluded to, when you look at the bullpen, Jack Finley's, pitching at a really high level. It's kind of interesting. I was reading like a Twitter discussion of his stuff last night, and they were talking about like how his fastball almost like it has like some sort of like funky like rise to it. And so that's something I kind of want to keep an eye on the next time he comes out of the bullpen. But Alex Rayo was up to 98 last night. So I'll tell you what, Notre Dame, I know it's just one win, it's just one game, but man, they just kind of have that look about them, right? Like they just look like they totally expect to win, and they just look like they look like the team to beat right now.
Yeah, it's it's funny. Like Texas lost the game. I think I left there more impressed with them. Like they're really good, and it took everything Notre Dame had to kind of hold them back. And obviously there were some really loud outs in that game, but I think I shared with you guys yesterday, like, Notre Dame reminds me of those old school Fullerton teams where they're just unique, and they, you guys mentioned it, they just catch everything. I mean, it's weird. Like Notre Dame, when they make a mistake, you're almost surprised. And, like Pete Hansen hadn't given up a stolen base all year, and, Notre Dame has got a straight steal in the game, a safety squeeze in the game, and 2 hit and runs. They're so awkward and uncomfortable to play against. So I agree with what you just said a second ago too, KR. They remind me a little bit of Michigan and NC State, obviously because of what they did to get here, but it's just like this ball of fury that just keeps moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll make this one point about Texas too. The one thing that really concerns me for Texas moving forward, I agree with you. I thought they actually played pretty well. But the one thing that concerns me for Texas, assuming, I mean, it's a strong assumption, right? But like assuming they beat A&M, which we have no idea, but if they beat A&M, like they're going to need Pete Hansen to make a run through that bracket. And you're to the point now. It's kind of like over the last few weeks, we're like, okay, well, Nathan Detmer for A&M's had a bad start. Let's see if he can kind of turn it around. I mean, this is like a third straight bad start for Pete. So you're just kind of wondering, and David Pierce was kind of talking about after the game yesterday, like, I don't know if it's just like fatigue. I don't really know what it is. So you just kind of wonder if like he's just kind of the end of his rope a little bit.
Because what's interesting, guys, he like the fourth start going back, he just cut Oklahoma State up in the Big
Oh,
12 tournament.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that might have been his
So,
best start of the year. That was clinical. So, and this
Mhm.
Omaha field just keeps on delivering. We get Texas A&M in the losers bracket. So, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Omaha.
neither one of those teams would love to send the other home. So,
Oh, it's so great. Boys, let's fast forward to today. Stanford, Arkansas, and then Ole Miss, Auburn will be the nightcap. Fitzy, why don't you kick us off with Stanford, Arkansas?
Well, we've talked about this already in some of our preview content, but you talk about Pete Hansen struggling last couple of weeks. I mean, that's Alex Williams. I mean, this is a Pac-12 pitcher of the year who does not come into this thing riding a wave of momentum. And right now, I think that's the most fascinating thing to watch here. Is he going to return to form? He was 1 to 3rd inning last week, 7 runs, 6 runs, something like that. Before that, the previous 2 starts didn't get out of the 5th and was hit both times. It's just like this is a guy that doesn't have big velocity, and he's got that great changeup, but it's a mid-80s righty. He's got to be sharp with his command, or else he's in trouble. And that makes me nervous. Like, is this one of those deals? Can he flip the switch, or is it like Hansen, where it's just like, he's just playing, not peaking at the right time? They've been able to overcome that because they're so good with their position player group. And they have, weapons in the bullpen led by Quinn Matthews, of course, but ideally they really need him to give them some length. And so, and Arkansas is a team that feels like they're playing their best baseball right now. Their position player group, like Stanford's, I feel like is very capable, very experienced. I mean, and I just think that Connor Nolan right now, he's pitching with a lot of confidence. It feels like this is a guy that you really can count on. I don't think he's going to be at all rattled by this stage. Another veteran guy, and so is Williams. They're both veterans, but just a matter of having your A game at the right time of year. And I feel like Nolan does, and I don't know if Williams does.
KR? You're muted, buddy.
I kind of go back to the same thing we talked about with Hansen and Detmer. Is when you look at Alex Williams, I mean, that's 2 pretty rough starts in a row, and I just kind of feel like once you get 2 rough starts in a row, that becomes a little bit of a trend. And I just think when you look at Arkansas, the way they hit in Stillwater, the way they came up with big hits last weekend. I mean, it wasn't amazing offensive production, but they came up with big hits, and so I'm Team Arkansas in this field. I just think this is a club that. Last year's team didn't get here. I think the year after, I feel like Arkansas is going to show up with like no pressure because they got back to Omaha after last year. So I think they're going to play loose. I think they're playing really well, and I expect Connor Nolan to put together a good start.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys, Stanford is a really good team, but you guys just you said this perfectly. I mean, it's just been choppy. Like they're fairly lucky to be here. I know you got to go do it, but I mean, you're down 3-1 in the 9th of this game 7 of a regional, and you just you're down 13-4 in game 1 of a super. I mean, it's just Stanford had to pull serious miracles to be there or be here. Now, again, that reflects how good they are. Whereas Arkansas is just the team that's playing great baseball right now. I actually like Stanford's team better, but Arkansas is just playing better. So I'm going to pick the Hogs as well.
Once again, Runes with Captain Hedge over here. You've got Stanford winning it all, I think, don't you?
Are we not? Are we? Well, so technically, I can do these deviations, right? Because the losers bracket, or should I not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think Stanford's going to lose this game and win through the winners, run through the losers bracket, by all means, that's a bold prediction.
I don't think that, but I think I regret my Stanford pick is what I think.
Already jumping off his pick from 2 days ago, this guy. Look at the conviction.
Yeah.
I'm picking Arkansas also.
Yeah. So everybody for the Hogs. Hey, how did we do yesterday anyway, by the way?
I went 0-2.
1-1.
I think I was 1-1 too.
1-1.
I'm on fire, you guys.
Yes. But you always have Paris, Fitzy. Right. Let's do Ole Miss Auburn. KR, you take that one.
I have no idea who to pick in this one. I'm going to lean Auburn just because it's a team that like I've kind of doubted, last weekend. I don't know. I feel like I've been doubting them a little bit, and I feel like it's time not, to stop doubting them. This team continues to win. Who are they starting today?
Is it Trace Bright? Is that sound right?
Is it Bright or is it Joe Gonzalez?
Oh, they probably would start.
either way, Auburn. The thing about Auburn is like it doesn't really matter who starts for them. Like they'll turn that thing over to the bullpen in the middle of the game. They'll have success with the middle of that bullpen with Carson Skipper and Blake Burkhalter at the back end. I really, really liked the way they played in pretty much every facet last weekend in Corvallis. And I just think when Sonny D and Blake Rambush and Bobby Pierce has been so good. I think those guys are going to play well on the stage. I think they've been dialed in, and I think they'll get a win.
Fitzy?
They're going to start Gonzalez, it sounds like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good matchup against Ole Miss in this ballpark, a sinker ball pitcher.
Yeah. I saw these two teams face off SEC opening weekend at Auburn, and I definitely didn't expect that to be a preview of the first game of the College World Series. Although, at the time we had Ole Miss ranked. I don't know if they were number one in the country or not. They were up there. So maybe we kind of thought they would be here.
Yeah.
I don't know that I expected Auburn to be here, but and then you lose Hayden Mullins and the fact that they're still in this position, it is so impressive. I mean, and I like their team a lot too. I'm with you, KR. I do feel like, we as a staff probably have I suppose underestimated Auburn, over the course of the season and the postseason. I mean, the fact that they head into the postseason, having lost 3 out of 4 games to Kentucky, kind of the SEC tournament, and it felt like they were just not, they kind of limped in there and still hosted a regional. But like once the regional started, they just kind of flipped a switch and they've been a different team. I love that they just pounded teams in the regional, and then they went to Corvallis and won different style games, lower scoring, tight 1-run affairs. Give them all the credit in the world for getting here. And I think they really do have a chance to make a run here. But I mean, unlike Runes, I have conviction in my picks. I picked Ole Miss to win it all. And so
Ole Miss, not Ole Miss.
I said Ole Miss.
I'm going to say Old Miss. So
Okay,
just if you want to brace
fair.
yourself, KR.
I think Rune just does it just to drive me crazy.
It's like
I
the
think he
Dan
does.
McDonald Louisville.
Ole Miss, it just feels like that team that, to me, I mean, like Arkansas, we were just talking about, I feel like they're just playing at a peak level right now. I trust Dylan DeLucia. I love their bullpen. I mean, I both these teams. I really like their bullpens because I like Skipper and Burkhalter at the back for Auburn also. But I have a lot of faith in Josh Mallitz and Brandon Johnson and the other pieces, Jack Washburn, the guys that they can mix and match with. But I think DeLucia will get them deep into the game. And I think their defense is going to play a lot better than it has over the course of the season. They've been a little up and down, but I feel like they've been better here in the postseason. I really like the personnel they have, especially up the middle. I think you're going to see Peyton Chatagnier have a great College World Series because he's a big stage player, and that's my pick to click here.
Yeah, man. What you said to start, Kendall, is where I'm at with this. This is feels like a dart throw game. Like I really like both teams, and Auburn. That was so impressive what they did in Corvallis. Jacob Gonzalez is a player that's really top of mind for me. I think he's the best. He'll be the best player on the field in this game, but he's just kind of not been the headliner for a little while for Ole Miss. I don't. It's kind of weird, but he's so talented. And then I'm curious to see how Sonny D plays in this park. I think he'll be just fine. It's easy power. He runs great at bats. But I'm gonna pick Ole Miss also. I'm gonna go Ole Miss. I think this is a really interesting game though. So I've got Ole Miss and I've got Arkansas. Kendall, who'd you do? You did Auburn and
I did Auburn and Arkansas.
No one picked Stanford, right? Fitzy, what'd you do?
No one,
yeah.
Everybody hates Stanford, I guess.
Arkansas and Ole Miss for me. I'm feeling the SEC West today. I feel like there's a pretty good chance the SEC West has at least one win today.
Gotta love it. Hey, somebody in the chat asked the question, which fan base has been the most impressive so far? Now, unfair to say because we've only done one day, and today we've got some pretty serious fan bases showing up. Yesterday, was it Notre Dame?
Notre Dame surprised me. I'll be honest with you. I was not expecting a lot of Notre Dame fans on the baseball front, but there was a lot of green in the stands last night. So
and they were loud.
Fans.
It helped that they were winning, but they definitely felt like they were more of a presence there. There was certainly more burnt orange in just pure numbers. But yeah, I mean, and it probably helps that we're staying in Notre Dame's hotel, and so it was a little rowdy back here last night.
Yeah.
I did hear a rumor that they were all here to see former Notre Dame superstar Michael Patrick Rooney.
Oh my gosh. I will share this with you guys. You probably saw it or have seen it, but somebody found a picture of me from like 1989 in my Notre Dame uniform that was shown, like multiple times on All ACC, our show last night. Like they really
You
had
got
the
to send us a
giggles.
picture.
I'll show it to you today at the
Okay.
stadium. It's really, I had hair. There's that.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. Were
Yeah.
you like kind of like a very light hair kind of guy? Did you when you
Yeah,
had hair
kinda
was
like
it like longer?
brown. It was just normal dork hair and brownish. But the thing that you guys are gonna really enjoy is my hat. The hats in the late 80s, early 90s were not like they were not great hats.
Yeah.
So my hat game really needed some work.
As long as you weren't wearing the little spinner hat, we're good.
No, there was no spinner hat,
Okay.
but it was not awesome. So, but it's good. Hey, we'll take one for the Enterprise, boys. Like it's all if it's a good chuckle, we're in.
You're a
Yep.
good team guy, Rhodes.
Yeah, that's right. You got to if you're not a team player, what do you have? So, boys, that's it. Thanks again to Wilson for having us here in Omaha and for being our presenting sponsor in the postseason. And we're gonna keep doing our daily previews. Everybody enjoy day 2, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
Hey,
Fitzy, what do you got?
Remember to mash that like button, mash that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. We appreciate all the support.